Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mile 20 podcast, where epic shit happens, with hosts and best friends, Lorri and Laura. We're here to talk about adventures that we've had across the 50 states via marathon running, and we're going to share our lust for travel, adventure, and talk about our families and maybe a couple of funny stories along the way as well. So grab a cocktail, and let's do some epic shit together.
I have my cocktail.
I got my cocktail, so cheers.
Cheers. Here we go.
Here we go.
Oh, God help us.
So, Lorri, man, we've been talking about putting a podcast together for a really long time.
Yeah, we really were talking about it while we were running it, thinking we should be documenting everything we're doing right now, and we absolutely didn't.
Yeah, so now we're reliving it, doing our podcast. So.
We are, finally. But while we're here, Laura, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So, Laura Lee, and I am originally from New York, living in the Philadelphia area now, maybe, 15, 20 minutes down the road from you. Mm-hmm. Been in the area for over 20 years in Philly. So you will definitely catch the ugly New York / Philly accent that I kind of smudge together every once in a while. I am almost 54, so very, very proud of that age. I'm probably,
as you should be.
I'm probably doing more than I ever thought that I would do at almost 54 years old, activity-wise, and just living life and just living it to the best every day. I'm married, and been married to my husband almost 32 years. We met in college in self-defense class. Beat the crap out of each other.
And where'd you go?
We went to West Point. We went to the United States Military Academy at West Point. Graduated a really, really, really long time ago. Called it old grads now. And we were in the Army for a number of years. So both engineers. I built stuff and he blew it up. So that good yin-yang kind of approach to things in life. And then we have a daughter. We have a daughter who she is a lawyer in the Philadelphia area, just got married.
Wicked smart,
right? She just got married this past September, so we have a beautiful son-in-law now, Matthew, and that's me. So what about you, Laura? Tell me about yourself.
Oh boy, I am 51. Celebrated the big milestone over a year ago. Whoop whoop. Happy to be 50. It's a good place to be in life. Lived in this area. We're also in Philadelphia for the last 10 years. Kind of a mutt. Grew up outside of Philadelphia up until high school, and then my parents divorced, and my mom moved me to Florida, and grew up, went to high school in Fort Myers and then college in Boca Raton. So I kind of have this weird mix of a personality between the rougher edges and the mouth of a Northeasterner, but then I'm very political sometimes and have a softer Southern charm where I can smile and try and negotiate my way in through everything.
But man, you like your fried chicken.
I do love my fried chicken. My Bojangles.
Bojangles.
Just to throw that out there.
The Bojangles. Every trip, the Bojangles.
The Bojangles. Gotta love Bojangles. Let's see. My husband and I have been together since we got married in 98. We have 3 beautiful children that are a product of that wonderful marriage. And I had decided very early on that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So I've been at home now for over 23 years because my oldest just turned 23 days ago. My middle is a senior at the University of Delaware, DJ. He's a Division I swimmer, so he's going to be graduating and entering the workforce soon. Yay! And then our youngest, Ella, is trying to decide where the hell she's going to go to college. And we're waiting on that. Fingers crossed, because she really wants the University of Florida, but we all know how that can go.
And that's this Friday, right? This Friday is the day.
Friday.
I have it on my to-do list.
Yeah. We're all a nervous wreck. We're going to have to take care of the baby.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. But then you'll be an empty nester soon. So that'll be super, super fun. So you and I met, you talk about, the fact that you moved here, 10 years ago? It's a little over 10 years ago now. But that's when we met. Like 10 years ago,
Yeah.
which is like crazy when you think about it.
It
Like,
is
just,
crazy.
Like it feels like we've known each other for an absolute eternity.
Yes, my whole life, actually.
Right?
I've known Laura my whole life. Oh, wait, 10 years. Because we've ran a lifetime of miles together.
A lifetime of miles together.
Lifetime.
And I think it's really cool when you think about, your friendships along the way in your life. Mm-hmm. And, you have friends from, maybe a couple that you still keep in touch with from when you were younger, maybe some from high school, college, and so forth. And, as you talk to especially other women, they say to you, it's usually unusual to find like kind of like your soulmate friend as you get older. You usually find those people younger in life. So like, it just, I don't know. I just feel really, really blessed that one, we met each other.
Are we going to cry on the first episode?
I know, we're going to like cry on the first episode. No, but for folks who might be listening today where you're like, yeah, I just haven't met my person yet, my soulmate friend and so forth. I mean, man, we totally, I said, man. See, that's that ugly accent. We stumbled across each other. We met at a running club.
Yeah. I feel like running clubs are such an amazing way to plug in.
Yeah.
Plug into a community, get to know people. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. So we met each other a really, really long time ago, and we've been talking about doing this podcast. So what the heck is this podcast about? Like, why should they be tuning into us and listening to some like 250-year-old plus chicks from like the Philly area? Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Why should they listen to us, and what message do we have to offer, on a weekly basis?
Well, a good question. Why would anybody want to listen to us? I think for us, or for me, part of it is we wanted to document our journey for our family and our children and their children's children, our grandchildren, which we don't have yet. Thank God. But beyond that, we feel like our experience was kind of unique in the way we approached. When I say experience, we ran the 50 states, a marathon in all 50 states, 26.2 miles.
Yep, we finished December of 2023 together.
Yeah, 2023. And I feel like there was, like they say you're a different person after every single marathon that you run. Like you pick up something new, you learn something new, you mold and change kind of the foundation of who you are with each one. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that our experiences, the way we approached it, with a lot of people approach it with a time standards like, oh, I want to get it done in a year. I want to run all 50 states in a year. I want to run it in 2 years. They do, which I'm not slamming that because I feel like everybody's journey is their own. But for us, the way we approached the journey was kind of from the back of the pack. We didn't care how fast we ran a marathon, just that we finished and we didn't get the DNF.
Which means do not finish.
Yes.
Did not finish.
And we wanted to experience each and every location as much as we could to the fullest, because a lot of times they were quick weekends.
Yeah, very
so
quick.
It's not like we weren't doing like a week out in Zion National Park, but we would go and dip in if we were close to Zion National Park.
That's right.
And I feel like just that, things that we've eaten, restaurants we've gone to, bars, wineries, breweries, museums.
You see a theme there. a lot of breweries and wineries.
I'm gonna take my sip of my beer right now.
So the Mile 20 name really it commemorates, a funny story that happened in one of the first races that we were in together. So, so not only like telling this tale, but like, getting people excited about, hey, I could go to freaking Valentine, Nebraska and have a freaking kick-ass time, right?
Oh, hell yeah,
you
can.
So that's what we want to do. We want to share the stories and these little nooks and crannies about
Shout
the country.
out Bolo Brewing.
Right, Bolo Brewing. Shout out. They were freaking awesome in Valentine, Nebraska. But the Mile 20 name, which you totally came up with, which was absolutely brilliant. We were noodling on that for a while.
Nothing felt right.
Nothing felt right. And so the whole reason why we came up with Mile 20 is when, as a runner, and you're running a marathon, which is 26.2 miles, every marathon is 26.2 miles, because I always love it when you run a marathon, because you, as a marathon runner, you tell people, oh, I ran a marathon. And you always let everybody know when you ran. How far is that? How far was that race? 26.2 miles. They all are. So when you hit the 20th mile of a marathon, it's very common where your brain and your body just start kind of disconnecting from each other, and your brain just starts saying fuck this, or your body just starts saying fuck this,
or they both
at the same time.
Yes.
So so we're kind of commemorating the fact that, or paying homage to the fact that at mile 20, like, life is tough, right? And at races it's tough, and sometimes you got to get a little gritty, or you got to get a little creative in terms of how you go and you kind of turn that corner for mile 20.
And there's a beautiful parallel, right, between turning 50 and, like, entering the stage of life we're in too,
right?
And the actual mile 20 of a race, because kind of the shit hits the fan at 50 years.
So many different ways
as well. And I'm not even saying physically, but just mentally. Like, you said a lot when you turned 50. You're like, oh, it's the back nine mentality now. It's like, are you going to gain weight and, like, sit around and let things go? Or are you going to really battle and fight to finish? Like the marathon, you have to battle and fight mental, physical pain,
Absolutely.
all of that to finish a race. So I feel it's a lot like that to finish life, right? Because everything in you wants you to slow down. But to have the quality of life you want later, you got to keep persevering.
So the story there, or the message there is, for the back nine, I'm hanging out at the 19th hole.
There you go.
But so kind of going along the lines of the 19th hole, so mile 20 also became a pretty significant mile for us when we would run our marathons. And so one of the earlier races that Lorri and I did together when we first met was the Philadelphia Marathon.
I love that race.
Yeah,
it's our
hometown, right? Yeah. So we're doing this race, and there's a part of the race where you hit, it's probably like mile 18 in the race, and you're down in, like, a little town called Manayunk. Yeah. It's a out and back in the race. And so Lorri and I, we both, and that's when we weren't listening to the same music as each other too, right? We both had our own headsets on. So, like, when you're running with a partner, you can get kind of like a little out of rhythm with each other if you're both listening to different music and whatnot. But we get into Manayunk, and then I'll let you pick up the rest of the story.
Conshohocken Brewing Company, which is also the beverage I am drinking today.
Paying homage to it. Type A IPA from Conshohocken Brewing. Conshohocken Brewing Company sets up a table at mile 18, but because it's an out and back, you also hit it at mile 22. Twice.
Yeah, so you hit it twice. And I guess it was my second or third time running Philly. I definitely ran it before, and I'd run right by the table because I'm like, no, I'm not stopping. It could upset my stomach, mess with my time. The first time I went out, I actually PR'd, which I'm not talking what my PR is because it's slower.
Because we don't talk about PRs at all here.
No.
You'll never hear us talk about PRs. You talk about the party in the back of the race, but never about PRs.
Well, before we met each other, though, yes. Like I had a different philosophy, which I just stopped caring about. But, like, I had a PR, and I actually got a PR in Philly because I couldn't stop and drink the beer. And then we decided to run together, and I was like, maybe I'll try it this once.
'Cause it was really windy that day.
Oh, it was
the
windy.
day that we ran, and it was cold, and it wasn't raining that day. But I just remember it was so windy that we had a spitting contest down Kelly Drive.
You're giving a lot away from
I know. My God, but we got so many. That was so much fun. Yeah. We're really classy.
Yeah. We're gonna circle back to this. We're gonna circle back to the Philly Marathon.
Yeah,
for sure. Because there's been a myriad. We've ran it a few times.
times.
We will give you all of those stories in upcoming podcasts. But I took a sip. Took the little cup. And by the turnaround point in Manayunk, I was flying. Like, I felt like I was on wings. Like, the wall didn't exist at mile 20. Not at all. And you kind of were like,
what the hell? What the heck?
she's got she's got celiac.
Yeah, and so for those of you who don't know, like the wall is that mental, physical thing I was just talking about earlier, where all of a sudden you hit this wall and you have to figure out a way as a runner, like how do I get around it? Well, Lori's beverage got her, like she just didn't even like.
I punched through it like the Hulk.
Like she juggernauted through the wall, and she's like running fast. And I'm like, dude, like, what the hell? And you're like, it's the beer.
I'm like, I kind of got a little bit of a buzz and I feel amazing. So needless to say, when we passed it again at mile 22, I took another one and said, thank you very much. My stomach never got upset. Yeah, there was nothing other than maybe, which we didn't care about pace.
No, we didn't.
So it didn't really matter.
Totally did, and then we had the spitting contest and everything else. So, But yeah, so I wasn't able to go and drink the beer at that race because when I asked the nice gentleman at the Conshohocken Brewing, do you have gluten-free beer? They laughed at me.
Yeah.
So, what we ended up doing during one of our next races is you were like, hey, I have to do that again. Like, I have to figure out where mile 20 is in our next race.
Yes, I was addicted.
And we went and had you map out, which Lorri has mapped out every single race and every race that we will run going forward. We know where mile 20 is on the course.
On the dot, almost.
On the dot.
In most cases. I think I missed...
one.
I thought there was two. No, because we missed the Mickelson. We missed South Dakota. Because didn't I think we were coming down one trail and we wound up on another one?
That was St. George.
No, St. George too. I think there were two I missed.
Oh, okay.
There were a few we forfeited altogether.
Yeah, because we had upset tummies or we were like...
cold and rainy.
Yes.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah, Alaska. But yeah, no, and so then every race after that, we have been... stopping for beverages at mile 20, and now I have gluten-free options.
Yes. Sometimes, embarrassingly, our stops extended beyond, which you will get into that in further podcasts as well. But sometimes it went beyond just the mile 20.
Yes,
beverage.
just beyond the mile 20 beverage, and I will have to say that we are not going to be telling stories about our races and, having folks thinking like, oh, well, this is the healthiest way to go and run a marathon. This is not healthy.
This isn't even recommended.
This is not recommended. We should have like a little like warning,
Yeah.
But
don't try this at home, kids.
But man, we have had a blast and we will continue to have a blast. So with that said, every podcast, we are going to do a little bit of a showcase because, it wouldn't be mile 20 without a beverage in hand. So, Lorri, you've already kind of introed your drink of the day.
I did. What are you drinking today?
I am drinking a wonderful red Pinot Noir called Vianza. It's Vianza winery. I got brewery on my head. And it is a 2021. So it is from Sonoma, California. And, just talking about California, heart goes out to the folks dealing with the fires out there and what have you. I have a cousin who's a firefighter out in L.A., a couple of aunts and colleagues and so forth. So we pray for them and
absolutely,
their families.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah.
And I was very proud of the Philadelphia Eagles 50-50 yesterday when during their victory over the LA Rams. Was feeling terrible that somebody had to lose that game. But the Philadelphia Eagles Autism Foundation actually gave the 50% that normally the Autism Foundation collects from their 50-50 and donated 100% of that to the relief in LA, which I think is really cool.
It was a really, really classy touch. So as we're...
Classy. Is there anything classy about the Lincoln financial field?
We'll get into how avid fans we are because that's part of our jam. It's not just around our running the 50 states and our travel, but we've also done a ton of adventures together. Hiking adventures. We're avid backpackers. We'll talk about when we ran the Jackson Hole Marathon and decided to go and do a through hike, a 4-day through hike.
40 miles on the Teton Crest Trail before the marathon. Yeah, not after, before.
That was not good decision making. So these are the lessons we learn along the way.
We had, 24-hour downtime between the two.
But we've done all this stuff in the last 10 years. So we're both season ticket holders to the Eagles, and we go to every single game, and so we just want to go and say that like not all fans are creepy fans. We're avid Philly fans. We might be a little loud. We might be a little obnoxious.
No one likes us.
Nobody likes us. We don't care. But not everybody, not all Philly fans are creepy. So
no.
So just need to go and give a little bit of a shout out there. So let's. I know we kind of like touched on it a little bit earlier, but how did we meet? What's the little bit of the backstory there? I know we kind of touched on it just a little bit.
Well, I moved up in 2014, and again, like I said earlier, like I knew immediately I was running prior to all of this. I started running when I was 25. I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism. Not that that's a bad thing. It's really so easy. I take a medication every day, but I gained a ton of weight and I just was feeling so sluggish. I was not athletic in high school. So I knew I had to do something to keep myself in check because I love to eat and I love to drink, which is a problem. Both those things in conjunction with hypothyroidism, which is a slowed metabolism, it just doesn't bode well if you're not going to move. So I knew from, my mid-20s that I was going to have to move most of my life. So I just started running, but I would only do like 20-minute runs, 1 mile, 2 mile, whatever, just to get things, burn calories. That was all I cared about. But then that progressed. Like I had the 3 kids and I started doing some bicycling, which I always enjoyed. And then when I got pregnant with my 3rd child, I was like, I think I could do like a triathlon. So I did a little stint dipping into the sprint triathlon thing after she was born, always trying to get the body back in shape after pregnancy because it's brutal on your body. And then I had some friends that were like, oh, let's do the Gate River Run, which is, I think, the largest 15K in the country. It's one of them. It's huge. It's in Jacksonville. And I trained really hard for my 9-mile run, which is funny now. For those who don't run, 9 miles is far. I know. And I'm not meaning to belittle it, but
it was a big deal probably for you back then, right?
It was a very big deal when I ran that 9 miles.
Yeah.
That's far.
Yeah.
I've never run that far before. Had a blast. Like we partied that weekend. It was a great time. I felt like hell. I cramped. It was just I had a terrible race, but I enjoyed it. But at the expo, I saw the Disney booth and they had all the Disney medals out. And then I started getting like shiny medal syndrome where I was like, oh my God.
Lorri is all about the swag.
Look at how beautiful all of these are. And then I'm like, oh, but if I get one, I'm going to want them all, which I don't have. I still don't have all the races because I realized after 2 Disney experiences that is good.
Yeah.
That I'd rather do the 50 states. But then I was like, oh, if I'm going to get all of them, I'm going to have to get the Goofy, which at that time, 2010, it was the furthest you could go as far as the most extreme medal. Now they have the Dopey, which
so for people who don't know what that is, like what
so
what
that's
is that?
So the Dopey is the running challenge where I think you do the 5K, 8K half or 10K half marathon. There's 4 races.
In a weekend.
Yeah. The Goofy at the time was just the half marathon Saturday and the full marathon on Sunday.
Which seems like daunting.
It is daunting. It was my first time running either of those, but I was like, I'm going to do this because I'll probably only want to do a marathon once, which wound up not happening. But anyway, fast forward, I got into running and I was running marathons, and then I decided to get into the 50 states. We were living in Ocala, Florida at the time. We decided to move back up to the Philly area. I'd been begging my husband to do that for years, and I joined a running group as quickly as I could. And I started running, and I hear we're like running with our group at 5 a.m. in the morning. We were called the Breakfast Club. There was a bunch of us, but like I'm quiet. I'm just a little on the quieter side while I'm running because I'm just struggling to survive. And I hear somebody talking because somebody likes to talk a lot when they're running. Yeah, which is why we get along so well. She likes to talk a lot. She just talks while we're running. And I'm hearing her saying, "Oh, I'm reading this book right now, and it's a little sci-fi, but like historical fiction with some time travel. It's set in Scotland." And I was like, I heard the record scratch. I was like, "Arr!" I'm like, "Are you reading Outlander?" And you're like, "Yeah." And that was it. I was like, "Yeah, that's my favorite book ever."
And then we just started talking, and the miles, we didn't even realize that like we were finished.
No, we were just the whole
And
time.
I remember coming home that day and telling Jim, my husband, that, so man, I met like the coolest girl today. She's like totally into the same book as me. She ran like a similar, pace. And he's like, "Did you get her phone number, exchange information?" I was like, "Nope." And he's like, "Well, hopefully maybe sometime you'll see her again." I was like, "Oh crap, I didn't even think of that," right?
Then you did.
So then the next time we were running, we just automatically just started gravitating,
Yeah.
toward each other. And then next thing you know, we're signing up for a race. Or I think at some point in time you were running New York or you had just finished running New York and the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Within a couple weeks of each other.
And
So
Maine. I think I did Maine
Yeah,
that.
you
I think I did Maine and then Marine Corps and then New York. That was my first time ever
Yeah.
doing multiple in a season.
yeah, so you had run a couple marathons before we met. I had done a couple before we met.
Yeah, how did you get into running?
Well, I mean, as you know, I hated running when I was younger. I played softball in college. I was in the Army. Hated running in the Army. It just wasn't my jam. Anytime like there was punishment in a sport, it was like go run around the field, and it was a punishment, right? So fast forward 2004. I'm the oldest of four kids, and my youngest brother Ned was diagnosed with cancer, and so while he was alive, I said, well, I'm want to run, in honor of you. And unfortunately, before I ran the race, my brother, well, actually, he was diagnosed in 2003. He died in 2004, and so it was terribly unfortunate. He died of Hodgkin's. He was 27 years old when he passed away.
Way too young.
Yeah, way too young. And so I said I was looking at different sites, so forth, for people who are grieving, how to cope. And I saw the Team in Training for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and they ask you to raise money for leukemia and lymphoma and families going through something similar to what my brother and our family went through. And they allow you to run a marathon. They teach you how to run a marathon. So I said, I'm going to do this and I had never thought about running a marathon. And I said, you know what, cancer sucks more. And cancer is going to be harder than doing what I'm doing. And I took a little bit of a picture of my brother because he was in the Air Force. And I remember at the time I ironed it on a little piece of T-shirt material, and I pinned it to the back of my shirt. And so and we'll talk about the next episode about our first marathons and kind of like, just the ups and the downs of getting ready for it and everything else. But, to this day, I still wear his picture on the back of my shirt. So much so where Lorri has never met my brother Ned, because unfortunately, Lorri and I met each other after Ned had passed away. But man, we've had races where you have taken your hands and put it on the back of my shirt and said, Ned, like we need you today. Today, buddy, we need you.
And he's always been there.
He's always been there.
Oh, I'm gonna cry.
I know. So I think obviously, like between you and I, everybody has their different why. Why you either do something like running or you start a new adventure, right, in your life, right?
Yeah.
I know, like
I'm trying. I'm really fighting the tears right now.
And well, dude, if I had thought about it back in like freaking 2003, 2004, and you would have said, hey, like 20 years from now, like you're not only going to go and meet your best friend, having a huge extended family, of their family and our family, because all of our kids like love each other. And
my youngest daughter just spent the night at her daughter's and husband's house last night.
And watching anime in the morning and watching the football game yesterday with each other, right?
Yeah.
But, so in that regard, we're truly blessed, right? Our husbands go to Sixers games all the time together and stuff.
It's so rare. It's so rare.
It is so rare. But if you had said, hey, 20 years from now, you're going to be sitting and doing a podcast with your best friend and so forth, I would have been like, no way. So, there's, out of tragedy comes silver lining, but it's one step at a time. These things like unfurl themselves. So while we're talking about running and these travel adventures and stuff, we got all these like little, like, I would say nooks and crannies that we have along the way. Cause like, I know you've had, tragedy happen in your life as well. And with
the
family.
2017 running season sucked.
It sucked.
Well,
right?
we'll get into that later.
Yeah. So, and that's the whole thing about being best friends is that we bring each other up, and when we're both up, oh God, help anybody else who's around us, because God, it's like,
it's up, it's way up.
That was like the Eagles game a couple weeks ago. But
that was a good time.
But when the other person's down, like we're always there for each other.
Absolutely.
And that's what this is about too. So I'm super excited to go and tackle this thing, and hopefully we're good enough storytellers. I mean, and we've taken so many pictures. So even though like we did not journal, and we're gonna have to like kind of jog our memories on a lot of our race stuff and so forth. So hopefully people who are actually serious runners and who want to learn about like some really cool races to do across the country, we'll give you some really good tidbits and some cool places to stay and how we did it and so forth. But it's also good for like, couples, families, single people, so forth, like who want to go and travel and see some cool places across the country and maybe learn a couple of, lessons that we either worked for us or did not work for us.
Yeah.
And be able to go and do some of the things that we've been so fortunate, to be able to experience as well.
Yeah. Like I would hope somebody could also take away the fact that the flyers over states are actually worth a visit.
They are flyover states.
They are worth it. And I know that probably sounds kind of pretentious for people who might be listening from a flyover state.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think East Coast, West Coast people, I mean, there's that term for a reason. But once you're on the ground and you're actually experiencing some of the locations that we were able to travel to, it's a different perspective. And our country is so amazing.
It is really, really amazing. And we've done some epic shit across this country.
We've done a lot of epic shit.
Yeah. So why don't you go and tell us what we're going to maybe talk about during the next episode?
So we will be talking about the Disney Marathon, which happened to coincidentally be our first marathons, although years apart, because your first Disney was in
2005.
Yes. I was 2010. But I think we just going to talk a little bit about the Disney marathons. We're going to talk about our first training experiences, what it feels like, or our first marathon experience period, and all things surrounding that.
Yeah, like talking about how nervous you get right before your race, and like I had the cha-chas for like the whole day before like the marathon.
Yeah,
and I
you
was like,
pretty
what's
much
happening to my body?
Yeah, you want to shit yourself. But I always think of that as a blessing, that it's just cleansing the system.
At least it's happening the day before.
Just getting it all out so you don't have to worry about it while you're running. Just get it all out.
So I'm really excited about talking about our first race and really feeling more like a rookie when it came to travel, right, well. So we'll go and run through that and some gear and how running gear has changed too over the years, so right, and what have you. So
fueling has changed a lot. Fueling.
Yeah.
Just in the whole. It's funny because I think runners start to also get into their routines of the things that they like and don't like before and after a race, and all of that changes as you develop as a runner.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that was really kind of an aha to me, just with how long we've been running, was we were on this train in Fargo, North Dakota, and went to the grandma's. What was the train?
That was what's the name of the damn Duluth. That was Duluth. It was Grandma's, but Duluth, Minnesota.
Damn it. All right. So
This is why we needed to have documented it when we were doing it.
So,
but that train is beautiful.
So we were in Duluth, Minnesota, and you know, just showing our age and how long we've been running. So we're on this train coming from Duluth to go up to the start to Grandma's marathon, which was really, really fabulous marathon.
Opt for the train, but we'll talk about that.
Yes. And so we're on this train with these two gals that were very, very new to running marathons, maybe had done just a couple with each other, and they were in their early 20s, really early 20s. And as they were talking to us, they realized that we were pretty seasoned marathon runners. And the one girl went and said to us, "It's so great that you guys are still getting out here and doing this." And it like dawned on us, like when we got off of the train, we're like, and then we started looking around going, holy crap, when the hell did that happen? That like we are now like the older people like in races.
Yeah.
And we're still out there getting it done. So that was definitely an aha. But you know, so it's a 20 plus year journey that will bring you through every week, but we'll also go and talk about, you know, what's happening in our lives and you know, current events and, you know, what's happening with, you know, in sports or, you know, what new adventures we have going on and what travel we have coming up. And
I'm so excited for this journey for us to be on it.
We're doing this.
Yes, we are doing this.
Holy crap.
Here we go. So thanks for hanging with us today and go make mile 20 your bitch.